Hello again. This is the Creative Boom podcast, and I'm your host, Katie Cowan. For episode 58, my guest is Nicky Goulder, founding chief executive of Create, the UK's leading charity empowering lives through the creative arts. Started at Nicky's dining room table in 2003 following her vision a year earlier, she was motivated by a passion for helping to create a fair, caring and inclusive society where anyone, no matter their situation, could fulfil their potential. Nicky has over 2 decades of experience at an executive level in orchestral and arts education charities, and she has a wealth of skills as a result, from strategy and business management to creative, fundraising and communications. Her role is certainly demanding, rewarding, and shows a passion for people, a commitment to social justice, and a love of the arts and culture. As we all know, there's power in creativity. So in this episode, we discuss how the creative arts have the power to change lives, to bring a little light to people's everyday. We're talking those who need it most. Young psychiatric patients, disabled children and adults, young and adult carers, school children in areas of deprivation, vulnerable older people, young and adult prisoners, and other groups of marginalised children and adults. We also find out how Create coped when the pandemic hit last year, how it adapted and the difference it continues to make, despite the many challenges. I couldn't complete season 2 of this podcast without chatting to Nicky and finding out more about all that she and her team do to empower others through the creative arts. But before we dip into this fascinating chat, allow me to thank our sponsor for season 2. Shillington is the original graphic design bootcamp where in as little as 3 months you can go from dreamer to designer. We'll be hearing some helpful career advice from Shillington later in the show. For now, here's my chat with Nicky. Hello Nicky, it's lovely to have you.
Hi Katie, great to meet you.
I love that we were just talking about the various lockdowns then and what each sort of one represented to us. And I think we both mutually did a bit of DIY in the second one, didn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of a really interesting kind of trying to balance the work, constant work from home, and then the feeling of needing to kind of look after ourselves and our own well-being, along with, find it quite difficult to get away from the kind of the work, which was always in your home.
Yeah, definitely. And for somebody who's worked in the charity sector for many, many years and co-founded your own charity, I can only imagine that the pandemic really highlighted how much you work so hard, because it is a really demanding job, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I think running a charity is the greatest privilege and an amazing, amazing thing to have a chance to do. But definitely it's hugely demanding. I think there've been so many changes over the last few years in terms of kind of legislation and safeguarding. And for us, when we had to redesign the whole way we deliver our work, one of the kind of really important things for us was making sure we could do that really safely for people. When we're working in venue, we know what's going on. We can kind of risk assess a venue, and working obviously the way we work now, which is online. People are in their homes and you don't quite know what their homes are like, the safety, all those kind of things.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on, and it will have changed what you do. Because just for the benefit of our listeners, can you explain what Create is and what it does?
Yes, so we're the leading charity in the UK that uses the creative arts to empower, bring people together and enhance well-being. So we work across the UK with 7 different groups of disadvantaged and vulnerable children and adults. So ranging from young people in psychiatric hospital units, young and adult carers, disabled children and adults, to inner city school children, older people, prisoners. So it's a really, really wide range of groups. And we individually design programs that take professional artists, so dancers, actors, writers, musicians, etc., into settings so that people can come together to be creative, to build their art form, music skills, etc., creativity, social skills, teamwork skills. And through all of that, all the joy of being creative in a kind of collective, that really enhances well-being and empowers people and inspires people.
So you co-founded it in 2003. What was the inspiration back then?
So I was the chief executive of an orchestra in London. And while I was there, which was 4.5 years, along with all the recording and performing and touring and all the things that orchestras do, I was really passionate, as was the team, of taking music out into community settings. So while I was there, we built the programme to about 160 days a year working in the community. And I was very passionate about taking music into some of the more challenging settings. So, for example, working in prisons and working with excluded young people and working with people who are homeless, for example. And I saw just the most incredible impact of music and giving people a chance to create music together. But of course, we were an orchestra and it had to be music. And in 2002, I had a vision for a charity that would work across all the creative arts across the UK with anyone who is disadvantaged or vulnerable, so that we could design programs that were completely right for them. So instead of saying, we can give you music, we now work with our partner organisations. So that might be a day centre for older people or a prison or a school or a carer service, etc. And we would consult with them about what their objectives are for the participant group. And then we would consult with the participants to find out what they're interested in learning and exploring, and if there are themes that they want to learn about, etc. And then we design a program specifically for them. And we kind of listen to them all the way through. So every program is completely driven by our participants and their voices.
I bet it's magical when you're sort of stood there and seeing the power of music and art, culture coming to people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have had access to it, or perhaps might have forgotten. We used to, when we were children, we got dragged around to all the old people's homes in our local town, and we had to sing for them, the poor things. But, we weren't terrible. And I do remember feeling this, as a young girl, just feeling great afterwards and seeing that it did make a difference. So to take it to this next level and just go into communities. I mean, it must have been a kick in the teeth when the government yet again announced further cuts to the arts. It just seems to be this ongoing feeling that they're not important. They don't really sort of hold much regard. And then, of course, with everything that happened in the pandemic last year, it was the art and culture sector that got left behind the most, really.
I think for me, what's so fascinating, I mean, it's just such a kind of dichotomy, because I think the pandemic and the lockdown has shown people more than ever before how absolutely vital creativity is. And we've really seen a lot more people donating to create. Companies have found us and individuals have found us, and people are telling us how important creativity has been to their well-being. And the World Economic Forum identified creativity as the third most important skill for business by 2020. And interestingly, back in 2010, IBM did a study of kind of a consultation of 1,500 chief executives, and they identified creativity as the most important skill for leadership. And for me, kind of thinking about that and thinking about how creativity enhances well-being, and that's a stat that we collect for all our projects now, and pretty much across the board, people say that when they've done a Create project, their well-being has been enhanced in so many different ways. And it feels to me as though there's this real dichotomy. Only a month ago, the government said that they were cutting funding for further education at a time where people need creativity more than ever before. I mean, the need for Create's work and the need for people to have a chance to be creative has never been more important.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that was massively highlighted last year to all of us was the fact that there are many people still in our society who don't realise they can take that route into a creative career. They've never had the privilege of being shown what's possible, and Create certainly plays its part in doing that, doesn't it?
I think massively. I mean, for me, lifelong learning is hugely important, and we work with children and adults. So, I mean, the youngest person I've worked with was a 4-year-old carer, and I worked with a 102-year-old amazing lady. So we really work across the whole spectrum. And I've got so many stories of working with children. So we've been working, for example, with a young carer called Abby since she was 7 years old, and she's now 15. And in fact, last year we made her our first ever youth ambassador, which is just amazing. And what she would tell you is that having had an opportunity over so many different projects through her young carer service to do drama and then visual art and filmmaking, etc. She's had a chance to experiment with loads of things. She would tell you that being creative, she cares for her older brother who has autism and a younger sister, and her and sort of supports her mum who's a single parent. And she tells us that, I mean, my favourite thing is, the arts, creativity lets me dream. But she said it also helps with her schoolwork, with her creative thinking, problem solving. And she's actually decided to kind of, for her A-levels, to do creative subjects. And her kind of dream is to become a filmmaker. And that wouldn't have happened if she hadn't had the opportunity to explore different ways of being creative, working with Create since she was 7 years old. And I mean, Abby is just one wonderful example of the, almost 40,000 people we've worked with since the charity started.
For yourself, you went to Lancaster University, same university as my husband. A great, a great institution, and I hear lovely because it's all campus based.
It is, yeah.
Yes, and you studied management sciences, marketing with arts. Did you always know you wanted to do something creative?
Well, when I went to university, I was classed as a mature student. I was 23 years old, right, and which didn't feel particularly mature, but definitely that's what I was kind of classed as. And when I'd left school, I'd never wanted to go to university, and then I had a couple of kind of amazing experiences. I was on a train going down to visit my brother, who was actually at Exeter University, and I was in the dining car trying to buy a coffee, and I met this amazing professor who was telling me that he was actually a professor at a university in London, but he lived in Exeter, and he commuted from Exeter to London, which I think is 4 hours each way. And he was asking me what I did as a job. And by the time I got to Exeter, I said to my brother, I'm going to go to university. Oh, right. And one of his friends said to me, you'll never do it. Well, that was it.
Oh, no, we don't like that.
So that was one thing that happened. And so I then started kind of looking at what I wanted to study. And sort of around the same time, I was dragged by a friend to a concert at the Barbican, a classical concert. And I thought classical music was just the most boring thing in the world. And I went to this concert and I sat in the front row at the Barbican, and it was an all Tchaikovsky program. I guess great for beginners.
Yes.
I mean, great for anybody, but I think it's very accessible, and there are kind of there's music that you hear and you think, oh, I know that. Mm-hmm. And I walked out kind of 3 feet above the ground, and I was just like, why did nobody tell me about this? And so I decided that I wanted to work in marketing and orchestras. And that kind of, those two things kind of coincided. And so I went to Lancaster and read marketing, and I combined it with arts, and I did music, and I did something called independent studies, which is where you can design modules of your degree yourself. And one of mine was in art sponsorship. And then I was very, very lucky that having been travelling for 9 months, I was approached by an orchestra in Manchester called the Manchester Camerata.
Lovely.
And they asked me to go and be their first ever fundraiser. And I thought, I don't know anything about fundraising. I don't know Manchester, and I don't know anything about orchestras. So I went, okay. And it was
how exciting.
Fantastic. It was so fantastic to kind of learn from so many amazing people about that whole world. And it was just a brilliant experience. And that was really my introduction to fundraising and to the incredible professional world of music.
Wow. So where did you grow up then?
Oh, I grew up in Surrey. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I now live in London, and I'm definitely a Londoner. Absolutely. I mean, I love the countryside, but I'm definitely a Londoner.
Yes, you like that kind of walkable lifestyle and having the whole world on your doorstep.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And were your parents creative? Were they into sort of anything like charity work? And
I mean, I think I would have to say that everyone's creative. I think people don't necessarily recognise that. Of course. Yes. And yes, I mean, I think being involved with charity has definitely been something that I was brought up with, and I think for me it's just fundamental to not just. I mean, obviously, I run Create, but I also I'm a volunteer for the Samaritans, and I'm the trustee of the Wales Millennium Centre, which is where the international arts centre based in Cardiff. And I think that doing voluntary work is just so important alongside, even though I run a charity, I think there's just something amazing about doing something without being paid for it, and giving to something that you really believe in is just an incredible gift to yourself as well as to the organisation, hopefully, that you're volunteering for.
Well, it's just amazing how much you can make a difference by just saying one little thing or suggesting something new to someone that might not have considered that kind of option. It's very good for the soul, isn't it? But
definitely.
Being a Samaritan is very it's a very kind of noble thing to do. You'll have no doubt noticed an increase, a difference, I suppose, in how people are feeling out there over the last year. I
think there's so much kind of conversation at the moment, isn't there, about mental health? And I know a number of these podcasts you've done have kind of focused on that area. And I think kind of well-being is so important for all of us, and I think it can be easy to lose that. And I think just looking at the amount that's in the media at the moment about kind of reduced mental well-being and really poor mental health. I think any service like the Samaritans is going to have seen kind of a huge impact of the pandemic. I mean, certainly at Create, we've never been busier. There's never been more demand for the work that we do. And when when I go and visit our projects, I mean, at the moment that's online. So it's this strange thing where I can kind of be in Bristol in the, first thing in the morning, and I can go down to Brighton, then I can be in Poole, for example, where we're working in all these different places. And that's that's one of the benefits, I guess, of working in this way. But I think working with the groups that we work with, mental health is we all have mental health, but
yes.
Poor mental health, I think, has always been a really central, aspect of some of the work we do, where we're partnering with Mind, for example, which is a mental health charity.
Yes.
Of course, that's a group of people who are with that service because they have identified poor mental health. But for many of our other groups, so maybe older people who are very isolated, or adult carers who are 24/7 caring, or young carers, poor mental health kind of is part of all of those people's lives. And I think that's why bringing people together and giving them a chance to build new skills and be creative and have a chance to think about something completely different. We're doing this amazing project at the moment in Scotland where we're bringing together adult carers from Glasgow and Edinburgh in one project, because they can all visit online. And it's just been extraordinary seeing these relationships develop over a computer screen, and seeing the difference that coming together every week and being creative and doing something led by one of our professional artists that enables them to come out of themselves for a couple of hours and create something beautiful, and seeing people's self-confidence grow because maybe they don't have a chance normally. They don't think that they can do something for themselves because their whole life is focused on the person they care for.
Yeah.
And so often, for example, with adult carers, they'll say to us that doing a Create project makes them realise that they need to find and make that time for themselves, because they can then go back and care even more effectively if they're able to do that.
Absolutely. It's the guilt that probably kicks in. They think that if they do something for themselves, it's in some way neglecting the person they're caring about. And actually, it's enhancing, as you say, their ability to be able to care for that person, because you've got to look after yourself before you can look after anybody else.
Yeah.
It's the whole, being on a plane and the oxygen masks fall down sort of scenario. We're taking a little break to get some creative advice from our sponsor Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp. This time we hear from Kathy Sisson, a teacher based at Shillington's New York campus. I asked Kathy, what should designers bear in mind when going to job interviews?
Just to be yourself, but also to ask really good questions. I think that's the one thing in interviews I never really got my head around. I was always just like, yes. And I think coming forward with really great questions of what's the culture like, what are the projects, really deep diving and being really interested and invested in the job. I think that for me has always been a great success tool of, showing how invested I am in the company and asking those good questions. So sometimes interviews, you go in and you're so nervous that you could almost just not say anything. And that's okay too, when you're relying on your work, but really showing passion of, hey, I've really done the research into this company. I want to know more. So I think that's really important, of just coming with pre-planned questions, just to show that your client that you're really eager.
To find out more about studying graphic design at one of Shillington's 6 campuses around the world, or via its online course, visit shillingtoneducation.com. Now, back to Nicky. There's so many people in this country who are caring, probably without realising that they're carers. And it just breaks your heart, doesn't it, to think of all the children, especially the children who are sort of looking after parents, and it's just something they had to start doing. They often don't get recognised, and So it's just wonderful that Create is doing something to bring a little bit of colour and light into their lives.
Yeah, I mean, Carers UK published a report that said that there were 4.5 million additional carers since the pandemic started. Because I suppose if you're caring for somebody who, it's just an unimaginable number, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
And Carers Trust have done a really, really incredible, shocking survey that shows some young carers are now caring for more than 90 hours a week.
Good grief.
I mean, you just can't even imagine it, can you?
No,
And I think
you can't.
I think that when we work with those children and they have time just away from all those responsibilities to do something for themselves and to meet other young carers. And I think kind of creating those networks where they have a group of people who understand the kind of responsibilities and the kind of roles that they're playing. Young carers, so many of them experience, bullying and isolation and sleep deprivation and all sorts of things that really impact their childhood. And I think having ways of making time for themselves. So I remember a young carer once telling me that since she did an art project with Create, she always has an art pad and pens by her bed. And so if she's feeling low, she'll start drawing, which I think is just a really wonderful thing.
That is wonderful.
And also having those support networks so that young carers know other young carers and they can then talk to somebody who's in the same situation or a similar situation, who they don't need to explain what it is to have to go home from school as soon as the bell rings, because you need to be caring for the person, maybe taking mum who's agoraphobic out shopping, or doing, preparing a meal, or looking after your younger siblings, or, there are so many things, medication, all sorts of things that young carers have to do. And another young carer will understand why that young carer has to rush off at the end of the day.
So the pandemic basically took away a lot of your sort of in-person workshops and your activities. But I suppose you also gained a lot from the last year, because you started using technology and online video conferencing more than ever before. And I suppose, and I'm making assumptions here, you'll be in future doing a more hybrid approach, because you've realised actually it opens up the world and it kind of makes it a lot easier for people to come together.
Absolutely. When I sort of remember so clearly, it was the 24th of March, 2020, and our building was physically locked by the landlords. And I walked home, and over the previous few weeks, every single workshop had been taken from the diary. We got email after call saying, we can't have the project. And we were just coming into the Easter holiday, which is a really, really busy time for quite a few of our programs. And that day I walked home from the office and just thought, our participants have never needed us more. They've never been more isolated and lonely and in need of the work that we do. And we've got nothing in the diary. And I thought, there has to be a way. And if we can't find a way, then we really don't deserve to exist as a charity, because, as a charity, you need to be there for the people that you exist to serve.
Yeah.
And so over the next 2 weeks, we literally worked around the clock researching. I'd never even heard of Zoom back then. And it's just unbelievable, isn't it? You kind of think about where we are now and how it's just kind of central to our language and our everyday. But literally we researched. I was messaging and calling a small group of our artists. I then did a consultation with a couple of young carers. We then did a pilot of our first ever project. And then we spent a week before we went live, sort of safeguarding and looking at all the health and safety issues of people working in their home, and also the safeguarding issues of us effectively coming into people's homes, because that's something we would never do normally. And 2 weeks after lockdown, we went live. And
Wow.
I was sitting here at my computer and all these children's and young carers' faces just appeared on my screen. And I thought, wow, this is really happening.
Were you emotional? Did you have a little tear?
Oh, I mean, the last year has just been the most roller coaster. I know everybody's using that word, but it really, really has. I mean, seeing the work happening and seeing the impact, not just on our participants, but the partners that we work with. Many of them, I mean, probably all of them, like us, were just. I've no idea how I can reach, the older people we work with or the children we work with, and so when we went live so quickly, we then had to train all our artists how to deliver, because it's so different delivering a workshop when you can't be in the room with people and they don't have any of the equipment we would normally provide.
Wow.
And working then with our partner organisations and coming up with all the protocols for them and for the families and the participants. But what was fantastic was helping so many other organisations to find a way. So, for example, one of the Age UK services that we work with in London to deliver projects to their older people, we trained them in how to work over Zoom and what these workshops would be like. And of course, they then had a big selling job to the participants, because the participants didn't understand how can I be sitting in my home using a technology I've never heard of. But the service is so brilliant, and we'd worked with them for a couple of years, and they love our work. The adults love the work, and they really, really trusted us. And so they made a commitment to us that by a certain date, they would have a cohort of older people online, on Zoom, understanding how to work it. And the incredible thing was that not only did they meet this commitment, and all these older people came online for the first of a series of writing workshops that we were doing, but because they then knew how to use this technology, they've then developed, bingo and coffee mornings and all sorts of things. So we were able to provide kind of that amazing catalyst for them then. And of course now, I mean, it feels kind of strange, right? 14 months on, to be talking about a time when this wasn't just normal.
Yes.
Because we're all so used to doing, our film nights and our quizzes and our everything that we do. But back then, nobody understood what we were talking about. I mean, we didn't understand what we were talking about. We were learning, on the job.
It's the best way.
Trying to work out how, when we're doing a music project and we're live and people can't hear each other properly, and we realised that we had to tweak the settings on the Zoom in order to do a music project, which is different from if you're doing a verbal project. And all of that stuff in those early days, we were just learning on the workshops, and we were really open with the participants that, you're the first group we've ever done this with, or you're the fifth group we've ever done this with.
Was this kind of an unprecedented year for you then, in all the years that you've run Create? Was it just completely like nothing you've seen before?
Oh, it was definitely like nothing. I mean, I think Create is just an extraordinary organisation. The team are passionate about the work we do. We work with the most imaginative, extraordinary professional artists, and everybody was absolutely behind making this work.
Wow.
It's been an amazing year in so many ways. We ran 936 workshops, which was an 8.9% increase on the year before.
That's incredible.
We've been working in Wales and Scotland as well as in England, and really increased our national work. The board signed off the new 5-year strategy in March, which got a little bit delayed right in the strategy because we were trying to redesign the whole way we're working, but they've just signed that off, which is really exciting. And we've got this very kind of ambitious strategy to double our reach and impact by 2026 and have a new hub up in Manchester, which is where I know you're based, which is really, really exciting.
I'll pop in and say hello.
That would be great. And then and then we won the Charity Times Charity of the Year award in
I saw.
in September, which was just such amazing recognition of the amazing team, and their just absolute determination and commitment and passion for the work that we do.
And you had so many different people to consider to still reach. I mean, how did you continue to support and help people who are homeless?
Well, that's really interesting. So out of the 936 workshops that we've done over the last year, only 21 have been in venue. The rest have all been via what we call Create Live, which is our Zoom delivery. And we made a decision when lockdown slightly eased that we would go and work with the Homeless Project that we've worked with for 18 years since the charity started.
Wow.
And then that meant, of course, working out a whole new set of health and safety and safeguarding protocols.
Absolutely.
But we worked with our partner organisation, and we put in all the social distancing and everything you would expect. And we went in, and we normally do writing and music, but this year, because of all the issues with doing music, and you can't sing and you can't play any instruments that you blow down, so we decided we would do photography and writing. And photography was great because it meant we could spend quite a bit of time outside with participants, which obviously was much safer. And they did this incredible body of photographs, and then our professional writer took over from the professional photographer and created writing. And then we did an exhibition.
You did?
Which was just amazing. And it was in the windows because, of course, the building that we were using was closed. And then the building became a test centre. And the exhibition was then kept up for longer, so that when there were huge queues of people trying to go in and have their tests, they had something to look at in the windows. And for me, it was just so wonderful to give these amazing creative adults a chance to express themselves and to tell their stories, both through photography and writing, and then for a public audience to be able to see those for such a kind of sustained period of time. It was just fantastic.
It builds confidence. It gives them hope. It kind of keeps them in a sort of, positive mindset when they're faced with so much that's goodness knows what's happening in their lives. It's wonderful. And I suppose you've not been able to go into prisons.
I was going to say to you, that has been one of the the really, really big sadnesses over the last year, because prisoners aren't allowed this kind of technology. We haven't been able to deliver our Create Live workshop delivery mechanism in prisons.
That's sad.
And I know it's so difficult because we have a new project in prison that one of our prisoners has asked us to do, called My Dad's in Prison. And it's basically going to be working with fathers to write illustrated stories telling their children why dad's not at home, why dad's in prison. I think probably one of my favourite projects of all times, I mean, you're not meant to have favourites, but one of my favourite projects of all times is Inside Stories, which is a project which I know that you know about and you love, where we take in a professional writer and then a professional artist and then professional musicians, and we work with prisoners to write, record and illustrate original stories for their children, which they then set to music. And we publish a book. I know, it's so amazing.
Oh, it makes such a difference.
It's just an incredible thing. I mean, I think it's really powerful in so many ways. I think getting dads together and we've worked with mums, but it's mainly fathers in prison. Getting them together and talking about their children and having a chance in a safe space to maybe be a little bit vulnerable and talk about what their children mean to them, and then create a story in pairs specifically for that child or those children, so that they are telling a story maybe of a a naughty rabbit that meets a prince, and what happens when they meet, and the rabbit is the name of one dad's child and the prince is the name of the other dad's child. Oh. And so the story is about their children, but not as children, is such an amazing thing. And they learn to work together, they learn to share ideas. Quite often you'll find in one pair, maybe one of the dads has really low levels of literacy and is very underconfident about reading and writing. But all you need is to have an imagination. We can write it down. They don't need to be able to write. They just need to be able to dream up a story. And then they work as a group. Once they've written all their stories, they work as a group and they set them all as a team to music. And then the children come into the prison and the dads perform the stories.
Oh, my goodness me.
The children get a chance to, play on some of the instruments, which is just amazing. And I think so often people forget about the children and the impact of having your mum or dad ripped out of your life and incarcerated. And this is a way that dads or mums can really show their child that they're thinking about them, that they love them, and often the stories will have a kind of a fantastic moral thread through them, which is something that, mum or dad wants to tell their children. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful project.
Yeah, it sounds it. I'm getting quite emotional hearing you talk about it. Everybody deserves a second chance and we're all human. And Create just seems to me like the kind of charity that just fully understands that, everybody is an individual and deserves just the same. And that I think that was one of the things that inspired you to start this whole thing in the first place, just recognizing that we aren't an equal society and not all of us have the same cards dealt to us when we start out. And so the fact that you're doing something to try and, mitigate that and bring people together, it must just feel wonderful. You must be at career satisfaction level number 11.5.
I think, my overriding feeling is just, I feel so, so privileged to do a job that I'm passionate about, where I work with a team of people who all care so much and love so much the work. One of the things I think is just so amazing is maybe we have a new joiner and they might work in, I don't know, in a finance function, for example. But we want everyone to have a chance to experience the work that we do, even though they maybe won't need it on the front line. Clearly, if you're writing a blog post about a project, you need to know about the project. But if you're doing the bookkeeping, for example, maybe you don't need to know about the project. But we really want everybody to have that amazing chance to be fully part of what we do. And on our Monday morning meetings, we talk about all the projects that have happened in the week before and the projects that are coming up in the following week. And the person who kind of leads that part of the meeting will ask whoever the project manager was or if anybody's visited. And it's just the most fantastic thing, maybe the new bookkeeper has visited a project and will just be smiling and raving about being there and experiencing it. Yeah. And I think for me, having an organisation where everybody across the staff team, the artists who deliver the work, the trustees, the organisations that fund our work and come and visit it, absolutely everybody is just truly, truly passionate about what we do and the impact of the work that we have. And I think what could be more incredible than having the opportunity to lead an organisation like that, where everyone cares so much?
Well, it sounds wonderful. And I think if anybody's listening to this and is massively inspired like I am, they'd love to know how to get involved and how to support you. Where do they go? What can they do?
Fantastic. Well, please visit our website, which is createarts.org.uk. We have different ways you can support us financially. If you're a company, if you're an individual, we have a fantastic scheme called Create the Difference, where you can become a monthly giver through that. And that that's really incredible for us because it means we can really plan our work on having a kind of a stream of income coming in. We have community fundraising. So I don't know if you heard recently about a little girl up in Cheshire called Edie. She was 6 and she painted this painting at her after school club and was told by the teacher that she'd done it wrong. And so she went home and she was quite sad, and her fantastic mum decided that she would just post it on Twitter and see whether or not a few of her creative friends might, post just a few lovely comments about this picture. But it went viral.
It did.
I know. And the Tate Gallery, Grayson Perry, some rock band in America, everybody was like, oh my gosh, you can't do art wrong and this is amazing. And so then people started wanting a copy of this picture. And Edie's mum and Edie decided that they would sell prints of this beautiful, beautiful picture to support Create. And so we've had a fantastic donation and this just amazing inspirational story. And lots of other people are now, there's a special website now, and other children are posting their artwork on there. So it's just been a really, really glorious and joyful thing. So doing things, we often find that people are having, some kind of creative activity, a fashion show, and they raise money for us, or they do some sporting event. We have something for those who want to get fit or already fit. We have something called Create Innate every August, from the 1st to the 8th of August. And people run either 800 meters, 8 kilometers, or 8 half marathons, one a day over those 8 days to raise money for us. I know, absolutely extraordinary.
Amazing.
So there are lots of things like that people can do to sort of raise money and also raise profile. They can join our eCreate mailing list so they can find out more about all these incredible stories of the participants that we're working with.
Oh, it's just so lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy woman and have plenty more people out there to help. And do you ever sort of lie awake at night and worry that you're not doing enough?
Oh, Katie, I lie awake every night.
Trust me.
The worst was when the lockdown happened and I literally lay awake for 2 weeks just thinking about, so many of our artists lost all their work, not only delivering our projects, but, they're performing, etc., worrying about our participants. So, yes, there's so much more that we need to do, and we will do.
Well, I hope you get some rest as well. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's fantastic to talk to you.
Thank you so much for listening. This is the Creative Boom Podcast, and I'm your host, Katie Cowan. Thanks again to our sponsor, Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp that's helped students achieve award-winning portfolios and land incredible jobs in as little as 3 months. To find out more, go to shillingtoneducation.com. To listen or subscribe to the Creative Boom Podcast, visit creativeboom.com/podcast. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us, don't forget to leave us a review. It really helps. See you next time when my guest will be the illustrator Adriana Belle, otherwise known as G's Vanilla.